My name is Philippe and I'm a HHP. I'm a massage therapist and a health coach helping people with chronic pain. So this video today is a little bit about something that I haven't really talked too much in length about, but I really think it's important. Whenever you have stress, can deal some damage to your chronic pain. So what I mean by that is that stress is like super broad, right? It's anything that is a little bit too much for you and maybe not super pleasant. But even when it's pleasant, you can have stress activities that are loading your nervous system, and sometimes it piggybacks, right? There's a lot of event happening. Sometimes we have stress from big events happening like hurricane or a loss of someone. Those are big stressors. The loss of a job, the loss of something meaningful. Or sometimes it's stress like you have a headache because there's laundry and there's dishes and there's too many tasks and you need to take a break, but it has to be done. So all those stressors are something that can a little bit overwhelm your nervous system, or a lot overwhelm your nervous system. And there's two ways to go at it. Like what I like to use is the term of coping mechanism and sub coping mechanism. So what I mean by sub coping mechanism, it's something that's not gonna necessarily address the stressor, but it will be something that will give you a little bit of a break. You can hear a lot of people talking about meditation, a vacation, nap, all those things that don't fix it, but give you a little bit of a good time for, I don't know, a minute, a half an hour, a day, a week. And then after you still have to go back to it. So whenever that happens to you, you want to check in, like what are you doing? Is it a sub-coping mechanism or a coping mechanism? So a coping mechanism is anything that, for example, you do if you work at the problem, you work really to solve it. Let's say you have financial problems, so then you'll work with a financial advisor or a CPA or someone who is financially savvy. Let's say you have a problem in a psychological mindset, so you work with a therapist or a coach or a counselor. Maybe it's a couple relationship problem, so you work with someone who is savvy with that. And you'll try to work on those problems. Let's say it's grieving. Well, if it's grieving, time is part of the process, but also you can talk to someone who's a professional in the field, like a therapist or a counselor. This is the coping mechanism. Fun fact though, when you have a coping mechanism, it will increase your stress. When you start working at something, it increases your stress. So it doesn't feel pleasant, and it's counterintuitive because people have a tendency to think, well, I'm working on it, so it should feel better, right? No, you start there, you address it, and then it gets better progressively. I give you an example. Let's say you have a financial problem and you have to overcome a big payment. The first bit will be to address how you're gonna go at that payment, right? For example, maybe there's another strategy. I'm not a financial advisor, but let's say if you start to tackle it, it's gonna be stressful and painful to some extent for weeks, days, months, who knows, years. But as you start engaging in that process of paying it off or addressing it, then things will get better little bit by little bit. So first you face it, it's stressful, and then it gets better and better a little bit. To do that, sometimes you need to take some sub-coping mechanisms. So break, meditation, breathing, a yoga class, anything that makes you feel better. Massage is definitely unbiased, I love it, but that's also something that can help you feel better. It doesn't solve the problem, but it gives you a momentum to feel better so that when you're ready to address the problem, then you feel like you can tackle it. So whenever you have one of those stressors and you choose between a coping mechanism and a sub-coping mechanism, keep in mind the big picture. Those stressors can be part of the reason why you have some chronic pain. Now, chronic pain is a little funny. It's a bit more complicated than just saying like, oh, you're here, you do an x-ray and we find something. Sometimes it could be a type of pain. I like the term nociplastic pain. It's a pain that is a little bit more complicated. It's not a nerve disease, it's not a cancer pain, it's something a little bit funky. That could be several problems that you're facing and your nervous system is knocking at the door and saying like, hey, time out, I can't deal with this. I need you to protect me, I need you to protect us. Whenever you have something like that, try to look for the stressors around you. Maybe there's 2 or 5 stressors and they're super big and it looks like a mountain. Take one. just tackle one. See if you can tackle one of them for the time it takes for you to tackle it to increase the stress, but really break it down, and eventually it diminishes the stress, right? At the same time, get some of those sub-coping mechanisms to help you whenever you feel like it's too much stress, so that you can take a break and move on. This is a great way for you to kind of address that. Hope that was useful, and I'll talk to you soon.